Hi Steve, how you going?
I'm doing real well, Phil. How are you down there in what looks like to be chilly Australia?
It is chilly Australia. It's contrary to whatever the world thinks Australia is. It is chilly. I see we had a comment on our channel.
We did. It's about engineering change management, better known as ECM.
Yep, and I'll show it in the video, but it's along the lines of really, when to start using ECM, some of the high-level things around golden clients with it and all that sort of thing, and asking for our experiences. And it always seems to be an area that drives people nuts.
Yeah, and let's face it, you got to be strange to do VC in the first place anyway.
Yep.
ECM just ties right in there, but...
Gentlemen, pray silence for the President of the Royal Society for putting things on top of other things.
I thank you, gentlemen. The year has been a good one for the Society. This year, our members have put more things on top of other things than ever before. But I should warn you, this is no time for complacency.
In my mind, there's two very high-level, really high-level questions you have to answer about this. And the first one is, what is your business process? Is your business process a high-volume manufacturer that makes a lot of design changes and you accept orders far in advance, so you have a very large backlog? If that's your business process, then you really want to consider ECM.
No. There are still many things, and I cannot emphasize this too strongly, not on top of other things. I myself, on my way here this evening, saw a thing that was not on top of another thing in any way. Shame indeed. But we must not allow ourselves to become too despondent.
Unless your business culture is not disciplined. If your business culture is not disciplined, attempting to implement ECM will end up in probably a not good place.
Yeah, I've seen cases, if you don't have a good change process to start with without ECM, ECM's perhaps going to get you in as much or more trouble sometimes.
If you're looking at this question, go straight to your engineering department, and they're going to work in whatever CAD system they use, and ask them what the revision control methodology is in that CAD system. And if they go, revision control, what's that? You know you're not going to put an ECM in SAP. Don't even bother to try. In
this last year, our Staffordshire branch has not succeeded in putting one thing on top of another. Therefore, I call upon our Staffordshire delegate to explain this weird behaviour.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's just that most of the members in Staffordshire feel the whole thing's a bit silly.
But if they can describe it to you fairly well, then you've got a shot at putting it in, just from a culture perspective. But then the other question is, do you need to? If you, for example, are a shipbuilder and you get an order for a ship a year, and yes, it takes you 5 years to build that ship, but you're only concerned with one ship and one sales order at a time, I don't think you need ECM.
And the other question too is, what objects do we use it on, or should use it on? There's some optional choices around that. Variant tables springs to mind. Some companies want to use it on the contents. If they have to add a column to the table, then you really have to build a new table. I think I know your view on this one.
Yeah.
And change the dependencies, etc.
With many objects, it can be a change master by change master decision. With some objects, it cannot, like class type 200s, like we talked about in one of our previous videos. You have to go in and actually configure the IMG to allow it, and then you can make a case by case decision. Personally, from a what objects do I control perspective, my opinion is everything except materials. Enable ECM on those things. Don't necessarily apply it to them, but make sure the system is set up so that if you need to, you can apply it to classes or object dependencies or bills of materials or whatever, but never touch materials with ECM.
Yeah. The other tricky thing for a lot of businesses is trying to test all this in advance, like ECM with ALE. And one company I do work at, we've created a parallel world with a dev client and a target client, like a copy of production. So they can do some testing of ECM more in a realistic scenario before they pull the trigger on the live environment. But a lot of companies to set up that sort of landscape, it's not a simple thing sometimes. By the time you get through the approvals and proxy and have we got space on a server or whatever it is. So,
well, that does complicate the process quite a bit, having an ALE situation in there. And in the business I was in, we had two rival companies, both using SAP. One that did all the changes in production, company I worked for, and the other that did it in a test client with it. And one of the questions is, I see a lot of overlapping of objects with ALE, and that can be true. We did all of our changes in production, and one of the benefits of doing all your changes in production is you can test it against the actual backlog to see what's actually going to happen. Now, if you're going to do changes in production, which I actually don't advise, but if you're going to, you better make darn sure your discipline of your people is at the extremely high end. So they know what's happening. They have a real good idea of how the system works and what to do when things happen, because things do happen.
This year, our Australasian members and the various organizations affiliated to our Australasian branches put no fewer than 22 things on top of other things. Well done, all of you.
The culture at my business prior to going to SAP, we had a homegrown COBOL 2 system. We had effectivity built into that. So we had effectivity in our systems since the late 70s, early 80s. We had a culture of living with effectivity and understanding what to do. And if your business does not have that, starting off with ECM can be extremely hard.
Thanks for that. You're more the expert on the ECM side of things than I am, but you've lived and breathed it over a number of years. I think it's always useful to get your views. As a general principle, yes, companies should use ECM, but before you make that journey, make sure you've got your ducks in a row.
Yeah, I would agree. You had talked at one point in time about what are the commonly accepted practices. And I'm of the opinion that use of ECM should be a commonly accepted practice.
You must never forget that if there was not one thing that was not on top of another thing, our society would be nothing more than a meaningless body of men that gathered together for no good purpose. But we flourish.
Of course, SAP needs a little kicking and poking and prodding to make ECM better. But if more companies used it, they get that kicking and poking and prodding.
Okay, I think we'll leave that one there.
All righty, man. Click the button wherever it's going to be. It's over there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I'm not sure. Okay.